Hello. I am here in a new location with my first sit down in front of the camera, in front of my bookshelves type video in a while. I have been spending the last month and a bit getting ready to move and moving and setting up my new apartment. So that's why I haven't been filming videos. But I did film a moving vlog documenting most of the fun parts of it. Which will be linked at the end of the video in the end screen if you want to see it. I also have timestamps in the description and in the linked comment on it in case there are only certain aspects of the video that you're interested in seeing. But I do think it's a fun video. It's 30 minutes, but it's good. You should watch it. But anyway, today we are here with my October and November wrap up. So I didn't read a lot in November, but I read sort of a little bit in November. So we'll start with what I read in October. So the first book that I read in October was Valiant by Holly Black, which is the sequel to Tithe. And I didn't like this one very much. I really enjoyed Tithe. It was a reread for me. I had read it in high school when it was really new, and I still really enjoyed it the second time I read it. I thought it was a lot of fun. And this one was just not the same at all. There was hardly any fairy stuff involved. I wasn't expecting magical pretty fairy stuff, but I was expecting there to be more fairy world things, and there wasn't a lot of it at all. It was not a big aspect of the story. It was very minor. Mostly it was about homeless people getting high. And I wasn't a fan. I didn't like the characters either, and I felt like they were all pretty flat. So I wasn't a fan of this one. I a few times wanted to stop reading it, but I read it, and I do want to read the third one because I did really like the first one, and the third one is about the people from the first one again. So I also just want to know how it ends as well. This is a series that I started reading in high school and never continued for some reason, and I have the first two matching ones, and especially if I find the third one that matches the first two, because these covers are out of print, I'm pretty sure. I would like to check it out at some point and have the collection on my shelf, even though I didn't like this one. So I gave this 2 stars. The next one was I mostly read it in the summer, but I finished it in October, and that was the audiobook for The Golden Compass. I just thought I would hold this up so you can see something while I talk about it. I started listening to the audiobook to The Golden Compass in August, I believe, during car rides, and finished it in October on the way to my dad's for Thanksgiving, and missed a lot because I'm not good at listening to audiobooks, but I had already read this, so it's okay that I missed stuff because I already know the story and I got the gist of it, and it wasn't confusing because I've already read it. I just wanted something to listen to that wasn't music for some reason, and it was a full cast, and I thought because it was a full cast that would make it easier for me to listen to, but I was wrong. It did not make it easier for me to listen to. There were chunks that I was able to listen to, but for the most part, no. So I just gave it the same rating that I gave it the first time I read it because I didn't think it was fair for me to give it a new rating since I didn't catch the whole story. So that was 4 out of 5 stars. The stuff that I did catch, I did enjoy. I really liked. I do want to see the new TV series. Pretty sure you can watch it on Crave, but I don't have Crave, so I don't know. Maybe I'll get Crave one day. The next book that I read was City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab, which I absolutely adored. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it so much. I read it in 2 days, I think. I read it super fast. I read it mostly at my dad's over Thanksgiving, like in bed while everyone was sleeping. I just stayed up super late and read it. It was great. So City of Ghosts is about a 12-year-old girl who can see ghosts, and her best friend is a ghost, and her parents just get a job being the hosts of this ghost hunting show, and she goes with them to shoot the first episode in Scotland, and her ghost friend comes with them, and it's basically just about her adventures with ghosts, and there's some conflict stuff that happens later on as well, and it was just so cute, and it was so it's middle grade, so it's easy to read really quickly. And that is part of what I really liked about it. I liked that it was just a quick, simple, easy, cute read. But I also loved the characters. I loved the story. I loved her ghost friend. It was just so cute and good. And it was eerie. And it had some spookiness to it without it being, actually scary. So I loved this so much. I'm really excited to read the sequel. And I'm really interested about the TV show because the TV show is about an adult. And I really hope that that they give her a ghost best friend in the TV show. Like, as long as they keep her ghost best friend, I'm okay with any other changes, I think. Okay, so the next book that I read was Texas Gothic by Rosemary Clement Moore. I have mixed feelings about this one. I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. This one is actually a book that I read a sequel to many years ago without realizing that it was a sequel, but it's more of like a companion. It's just, there's a cousin in this who shows up a couple times, and the one that I had read previously was about the cousin, and it's a completely different style of ghost story. But this is about a girl who is house sitting her aunt's farm over the summer, and the farmhouse is haunted, and her whole family is really good with ghost things, and turns out that there's bones that were dug up on the farm, like, next door. Like, it's kind of far away because they're farms, but, like, the next farm over. And it's about them digging up the bones and trying to solve some ghost mystery, which sounds good, but I don't know. I didn't think it was that good. Like, there were parts of it that I really enjoyed. I really, really liked all the interaction between her and, like, the love interest guy. I thought it was really cute and fun, and, like, their banter was great, and I really enjoyed certain aspects of it. But a lot of it was just them digging up bones, and I was not interested. Even the stuff about the ghost mystery that they were trying to solve didn't seem interesting to me, and it seemed weird the way it was being talked about and the way they were trying to solve it. It was weird to me. But there were a lot of parts that I liked about it, and I liked the writing style. I just didn't like what the story focused on, I guess. So I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. I'm not upset that I read it or anything, but Okay, so the last book that I read in October was an audiobook, but it was an audiobook that I was actually able to pay attention to the whole time. And I bought my own copy, like hard copy version. So that was Sadie by Courtney Summers. So this book was incredible. So the audiobook was really, really, really well done. First and pretty much only time I think I'm ever going to be able to fully pay attention to an audiobook was with this, because I have since listened to other audiobooks, and it's the same as my other experiences. Can't listen to them. But this one was different, and I don't think it's just because it was a full cast, because The Golden Compass was a full cast, and that didn't help me. So I don't even know. But so Sadie is a pretty intense story. It's like a very quietly intense story. I'm going to call it that. It's quietly intense. Sadie is about so it goes back and forth between a podcast and the girl the podcast is about. So it's almost like every other chapter is the podcast and the narration of the girl that is like the main focus of the podcast. And the podcast is about this girl, Sadie, who's gone missing after the murder of her sister. And it's got like phone calls and different kinds of like audio recordings and interviews with different people who knew them or who saw them before their disappearance and murder and everything. And then Sadie's narration is like what happened for like when she went missing. Like it's all the stuff that the podcast people don't know, the whole story. And so she's basically trying to find the person who she thinks murdered her sister so that she can murder him. And the podcast, okay, I loved the podcast, and I loved the guy. His name is West. And while I was listening to it, I thought it was Wes, but no, it's West. But I loved him so much. I just loved his tone of voice that he used and the way that he read, I guess. I just really, really liked him. And I found him very, very easy to listen to. And during the podcast portion, I really felt like I was just listening to a podcast. And it was just really cool. Like, it was really, really well done. Like, they had sound effects and everything. Like, when there were interviews in a restaurant, like, there was, like, background noise of cutlery and people talking and stuff like that. It was really, really well done. And then Sadie's narration was fine. It was, like, a regular audiobook narration. I did not like the actress who read for Sadie. I thought she was way too intense about things that did not need to be intense. She was intense the whole time, and it was really annoying, and it really bothered me. But other than that, it was good. And the story was really interesting. It was slow moving, but really intriguing and gripping, even though there wasn't a lot happening and you weren't finding a lot of information out quickly at all. It was really, really good. I gave it 5 stars. I wasn't in love with it, but I appreciated it on a level that I think the book deserves 5 stars. So I almost didn't read this book because everyone's reviews warn people about trigger warnings for pedophilia and rape and murder, and yeah. And so I didn't want to read it because I don't like reading about that stuff. But it does not have that stuff. Like, you don't read about it. It is talked about in the book. Like, it's something that is discussed more frequently towards the end, but it is not actually, like, you don't actually have to read scenes of it happening. You just know there are people who do this stuff and that there are people in the story who had this stuff happen to them, but you don't have to read about any of it. There are no uncomfortable scenes where it's actually happening. It's just discussed. So in case you're like me and you thought that it was like more graphic than it actually is, it's not graphic. It's discussed and that is it. So if that changes your mind on reading it or not. If you're not comfortable reading about it being discussed at all, then it's not the book for you, because it's definitely discussed. But it's not graphic. I just thought I'd mention that. And what I also really, really liked about it was the fact that it's discussed, but it's not actually described. I thought it was handled really, really well. They did it really carefully, and I really liked that like these uncomfortable topics that happen to people in real life every day were not tiptoed around, but they also weren't shoved in your face. And I really liked that about it. I thought they did an excellent, excellent job with covering that aspect of the story. Excellent. The book really, really resonated with me. When it was over, I cried. I'm gonna cry now thinking about it. Just the last lines, my God, it was really well done. It was good. So, this.
Hey, editing Nat here. I forgot to say in my wrap up that Sadie, that listening to the audiobook really, really, really reminded me of the video game Life is Strange, and it really made me want to replay Life is Strange, and that was something that I wanted to mention in my wrap-up, and I completely forgot. But if you liked Life is Strange, you might like Sadie, or if you liked Sadie, you might like playing Life is Strange. It had very similar atmospheres to me. Listening to the people talk reminded me of listening to the people talk in Life is Strange. Like, it just all had the same vibes and the same atmosphere. Like, Life is Strange is about someone trying to help her friend find someone who's gone missing, and there's a bunch of like really intense stuff that ends up happening. So anyway, I just felt like mentioning that. Super reminded me of Life is Strange. Really makes me want to replay it. Look at the dishes in my background. I swear I'm not messy all the time.
I also started listening to Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, and I couldn't finish it because I only had it for 2 weeks from my library, and there was like 6 other people who had a hold on it, so they took it off my phone before I was done listening to it. But I listened to half of it, and I'm going to listen to the rest of it when it's available again. And it's the same as The Golden Compass and The Night Circus, when I talked about that in previous videos, if you remember that. I was not getting the whole story, but the parts of the story that I was getting, I really enjoyed listening to. And even if I wasn't fully paying attention, I really liked having it on in the background while I was doing stuff. And that's something that I've realized I really enjoy now. I really enjoy listening to audiobooks that I've previously read, so it's okay if I miss stuff. I just like having them on. And I like whenever I do end up being able to pay attention and I know what they're talking about, and I'm like, oh, I remember this scene, or I remember the scene but not in enough detail, and now I remember it better and stuff. So I really liked that. I'm really, really enjoying listening to Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I'm really excited for it to become available again so I can continue listening to it and finish it. And then the last book that I'm going to talk about today is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer, which I'm currently reading. I started it in November, didn't get very far, and since I finished setting up my apartment, I have been able to sit down and read a little bit more, but I'm still not really back into that mode yet. So it's taken me a while, but I'm in love with this so far. But it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and I'm really enjoying it. It's so good. I just love the world so far, and the way that the people talk, and the way that they're having, like, the conversations that the people in it are having. Like, it's really good. So I just thought I'd mention that I started this in November, but I didn't finish it. So that's all you get to know about that. And I guess that's all for this video. I guess we'll see you in the next one. Bye. Have a good day.